All right. Hi, Winnie. Thank you so much for making the time to chat to us and let us into your world. But as we start, please, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Who is Winnie?
Thank you for inviting me, Rapula. On so many different levels, but I guess I'll talk from like a coaching perspective. So I am work as a transformational coach. In terms of my journey, I actually started out in corporate, grew up in a really, I think as most people, like very survival type driven environment. Where it was all about performance and you need to do well and you need to push, and there's a specific way in which you need to show up in the world. So that was a lot of my conditioning and patterning growing up. But at the core of who I am, I'm very much like a very free-spirited person. Love to try things out, love to have experiences. Even if I just do something once and then I'm like, okay, fine, I'm over it and I move past it. And then I made my way into coaching like literally this year in 2025, and it came to me as an unexpected surprise, but a very well welcomed one.
Oh, yeah. How did that happen?
So I'd actually met up with a friend shortly after I left my corporate job. And during this conversation, we were just catching up, and then she just started talking about coaching. And something inside of me was just like, you need to find out where she went and did her course and
Mm.
just expose yourself to it and find out about it. Did the course through Action Factory, and I'm not going to lie, it literally felt like destiny just like colliding. It just
Yeah.
felt like such a great fit.
Yeah.
And I think also along my journey throughout my life, I've always known that outside of corporate and the work that I was doing, I always felt like I'm supposed to be doing something more. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger, but I just didn't know what or which path to take. But one
Yeah.
thing I've always known is that I've always enjoyed being able to help people on their journey and just seeing people like progress and do all like that's always given me a great deal of fulfillment. So I guess
Mm.
coming into coaching just felt like, yeah, I found my fit. I found what my purpose is, and I
Mm.
found what it is that I'm supposed to actually be doing. And just the timing of everything, like getting out of corporate, my own personal journey that I've had to go through in terms of evolving as a person and now being in a place where I can actually help people and
Yeah.
support them in a way that is really meaningful.
Awesome. You live in South Africa?
Yes, so I'm based in Johannesburg,
Okay.
born
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
raised here.
You talked about the intense corporate world. There's a particular question I want to ask you about that, to do with the work ethic that we are beginning to see these days, where corporations are using one person to do the job of two, three, four people, and we are seeing the bad results of that. But we'll come back to that right now. I want you to if to go a little bit into the environment that you were in, the field that you were in, or that you are still in, as far as corporate is concerned.
Okay, so I was in finance.
Mm.
So I basically went the chartered accounting route. So did board exams to qualify as a CASA.
Wow.
So that was the space that I was in.
Yeah.
So I started off in audit, and then from audit, after I did articles, stayed on as a manager within the audit space. And then I was like, no, audit is not for me. I really want to go into the more like financial analysis space. So that
Okay.
was the direction then that my career took for the last goodness, how long was I in? Because I did FMCG and then like the QSR industry. So fast moving consumer goods, and then QSR is quick service restaurants.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was in that space for that was probably 7 years
Mm. Mm.
before I think in terms of timing, I'd always known I'd reached a point where I knew that I need to get out of corporate like this. It's just not, it's not for me in the way that it's structured. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's obviously very performance driven and there's a
Mm.
specific way you need to show up. And I think just in the nature of like who I was, and I guess coming more into myself as time went on, I realized that corporate just wasn't a container that could support me in how I wanted to evolve.
I was in corporate for like 18 years. Every time I thought about, okay, the next level is this, the next level is that, and coming back to the workload, the pressure, and all that, that just felt like I like helping people, and this is not taking me there. So I completely fell out of love with corporate. Was that something similar for you?
What drove me obviously into the work that I ended up doing, like choosing to become a chartered accountant, that decision was purely based on survival. It
Ah,
wasn't based on what I truly loved and enjoyed. And
yeah.
the reality was for me growing up, the only options essentially that were on the table was like you become a doctor, you become a lawyer, you become an accountant. Pick. pick from there.
Yeah.
So I had actually started off in actuarial sciences. That didn't really work out. And I was like, fine, what's the next best thing I can go into? So that was accounting.
Yeah.
And my dad was actually an accountant as well, studying towards his chartered accountancy before he had passed away.
Oh,
So I thought, let me go this direction, and it was able to contain me. So
yeah.
workload, the deadlines, the constant repetitiveness of the
Yeah.
work. You come in at the start of the year, we're doing forecasting, you know exactly what's going to happen in terms of how the year plays out.
Mm.
And the requirements of the work. And I was just like, I just feel like I'm living my life on repeat. And
Mm.
obviously, like earning the money and stuff was great. It set me up well, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I think in my mind, I had this picture that, you know what, yes, I'm going to sacrifice myself now so that I can survive. And at some point, it's going to work out and life will become a little bit easier, a bit more calmer, as you're going along. But I
Yeah.
just found that with each progression in my career, it's like that moment of success, it literally only lasts for a moment. Like, oh yes, I got the promotion. Oh yes,
And then what?
what's this? I got that salary increase, and you're like, okay, now that moment is past. Now there's more work, and there's
Yeah.
more, and there's just constantly more. And
Oof.
also the other thing that really started to get to me, and I think also playing on also that conditioning, for me that you have to perform, you have to show up in
Mm.
this way, was that feeling of never being enough.
Yeah.
It was always this thing of like, you could be better in this and you could improve in this area. And these are
Mm.
developmental areas. Before you can move to the next level, this is where
Mm.
you need to better yourself. And I was just like, when is it ever enough? When do I get
Mm.
to a point where it feels like who I am, as I am in the world, is
Yeah.
actually enough? There's always
Wow.
something that feels like it's inadequate.
Wow.
And that was a theme that didn't even just play through corporate. I think I started seeing it play through other areas of my life as well, where this feeling of
Mm.
just constant inadequacy and
Mm.
questioning like, when do I arrive and when do I
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
sense of
Yeah.
fulfillment, and also just looking at the world around me where you'd observe and see maybe people who maybe aren't in corporate and have found what their truth is and they're able to live it out. And I'll just think, okay, I guess that's just reserved for just special people in the world. The rest of us, we're not meant to have that. But then
Yeah.
something on the inside of me, like constantly pushing me that that's not something that's just for a select few, it's actually for everybody. And
Mm.
it's just about, yeah, being brave to actually choose a different path. So what ultimately made me leave, finally decide to call it quits was, yeah, I think I reached a point where I was like, my sense of self-worth and value had reached a point where I was like, when you're telling me I'm not enough and now I have to do even more than what I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot already as it is. If that's the case, then I'd rather remove myself from here,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is, I know it's not a decision that a lot of people find easy to make. And I think
Mm.
being in the corporate space and realizing I'm not the only one who feels like this, there are lots of people in the corporate space who are there and who are genuinely miserable,
True.
and I think that sense of being too afraid to choose
Mm.
yourself and go after
Mm.
what you really want. Unfortunately, the system takes advantage of that because it knows you're afraid. So it'll be like, okay, well, you're not going anywhere. So I'll keep overloading you. I'll keep giving you more and I'll keep telling you how inadequate you are because you're not going to leave. You're going to take it.
True, true, true.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, when I quit after 18 years or so in corporate, a lot of the people around me, my colleagues and family members as well, were so afraid for me. I mean, what's going to happen? And sometimes it's that fear that keeps us in that rut. And now coming back to coaching, does that form part of your coaching journey?
Absolutely. So my coaching is literally what I've lived and experienced and the
Mm,
path that I've walked in being able to actually find myself and
yeah.
being able to express that in the world. Because for the longest time, what I grappled with was this sense of like an awareness of like there's an inner reality and there's an outer reality. And I was just like, the two just don't seem to meet. Like I was brought up in a Christian household.
Yeah.
So even in the Christian faith, if we're using that as an example, I'll go to church, we sing, we do praise and worship, and I'm like, I feel so great and so big in that moment. And then when it comes, okay, fine, now like real life hits me, and I'm like, I don't know how to reconcile these two. And
Mm.
I think with the way that my brain is wired, I'm of the school of thought that, if I have information and I have awareness, all great, but it means nothing to me if I can't translate it into a lived experience.
That's
So
it.
I've been on this journey for, I mean, I'm 38 years old now, but I think I really started thinking deeply about these things probably like from the time I was like a child, to be quite honest, and just trying to make sense of how is it that you can feel love and you can feel peace and you can feel joy and confidence. And then you got into the world and it's just like all of that just evaporates. And then it just feels like something else takes over and is directing my life. So that really frustrated me, I think, as a
Mm,
child, and also just acknowledging that, okay, fine, the world is designed in a certain way. And if I have to survive, then there's certain rules I need to play by. But in having that awareness as well on the inside, it doesn't leave you. You know, and I think once you come into that, knowing it left me for a while. Like it was, okay, fine, go the route that you
mm,
want to go figure it out. But at
yeah.
some point, there's a point of reckoning where you're going to have to come back to the truth because you know what the truth is. But
Yes,
you need to give yourself permission now to actually start figuring out how to actually walk this out.
that's right. Next level her. What is that all about and how does it relate to your coaching?
Okay, so Next Level Her, so that is my coaching brand.
Hmm.
Initially, honestly, it was designed specifically. My aim was to just target women specifically. But
Yeah,
I think as I'm going along and evolving it, I'm like, it's actually open to everybody, to be quite honest.
yeah.
And anyone who's willing to lead from a place of not so much your masculine energy, which is a lot of what has shaped the world and made the
Mm,
world what it is. And even
mm,
that structure is not working for the men themselves,
mm.
to be quite honest. But it's more like leading from that place of alignment with yourself, your
Yeah.
intuition, your deeper understanding of who you are. And it's really targeted at individuals who have walked maybe not the exact same journey I have, but similar in that you've done the right things, you've lived by the rules, you've done all of the shoulds, and you've achieved stuff and achieved great success, but you still feel like something is missing and there's
Yeah.
a misalignment that's there.
Mm,
So in my coaching space, I basically help individuals hold a space for them to be able to meet themselves a little bit deeper and at a level that they're ready to meet themselves. Not everyone is ready to go super deep. Some
yeah.
people are maybe just able to go just slightly a bit deeper, but there's some things they're just not ready for. So there's no force in any of it. It's just what are you ready for? And then I hold the space to be able
Mm,
to help you meet yourself a little bit deeper, form a healthier relationship with yourself. And from that place now looking at how do I want to be able to express this into the world and talking about it practically, it might come through in how I'll give you an example. Like I've got a client who really battles with people pleasing tendencies. And it
mm,
shows up in work, it shows up in her
mm.
relationships,
Yeah.
it shows up everywhere, and then it's like now in understanding, okay, this is the challenge that I'm dealing with. This is almost like the relationship with myself that I'm having that is causing this thing to be in effect.
Yeah.
How after I've now like healed that and I've come into a healthy relationship with myself, how does that
Mm,
now show up in how I relate to people?
yeah.
If someone asks me to do something I don't really want to do, how do I then find the courage to be able to say, no, actually, I would rather like to do this and not feel so terrible about
Awesome.
it,
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the work that I do.
Okay, for those of you who are watching this, just to realize, and by the way, we will put Winnie's contacts and social media handles and everything in the comments at the bottom. When you look at her brand, don't assume it's only targeting women. That's a brand, that's who she is. But when we do life coaching, we get requests from different people, and the chemistry works, and I can work with you and help no matter who you are. One of the things that I observed is that you do awareness on LinkedIn and other platforms. What has been your experience? I mean, I'm also trying to get word out there. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how coaching can help you, and so on and so forth.
Honestly, I do think that is a really powerful tool, but just from my side, I'm only on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm not
Oh
on my
yeah,
social the other socials, so like Instagram, Facebook, not yet. Because there I almost like had my own personal profile that I was building, and I felt that I need to deprioritize that for now and just focus on
yeah.
LinkedIn. And honestly, like I think what has been the most powerful thing for me is maybe not so much in terms of trying to get people to react or buy into your content. Otherwise, and then it's
Mm.
like for me, then I'm getting myself back into the performance mode. Like I'm trying to win you over and
Ah,
I'm trying to sell
that
something to you.
that's
Whereas
important.
for
Yeah.
me, it's more about the more that I post, I realize it's actually helping me in terms of getting even more clarity
Ah,
about what it is that I'm doing. And the more that I come into almost like alignment and resonance with myself, the people who naturally align with that will gravitate.
I
And at the
like
same
that.
time, I think the other thing that I would like to mention
Yeah, yeah.
is there's also a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise on these social media platforms, and I think a lot of people talking about sometimes the same things and maybe not really offering like deeper solutions,
That's
and you
right.
find a lot of things where it speaks obviously to a specific person
That's
who's
right.
maybe not yet ready to go deeper yet. And it's just, okay, I just need tools to be able to
Mm.
manage the anxiety or the toxicity in my environment. So you see a lot of posts about this environment, corporate is toxic, this is toxic, and that is toxic. But all the solutions are really centered around almost like trying to create codes and templates that senior managers, leadership directors, and stuff should abide by,
Yeah,
but maybe
yeah.
not getting to the heart of the issue that you can create all the templates and all of those strategies that you want. But if a person on the inside is not fully aligned to that, it's not really going to go very far.
No, that's quite important. Well, Winnie, as we get towards the end of this chat, but anything else that you want to add to what we've already discussed?
Yes, so in January, I'll be hosting my very first workshop. And this is actually a workshop focused around goal setting, but not in the traditional way that people might perceive, right?
Cool.
This is an opportunity because I know we've all done the thing where it's okay, maybe this is the year I'm going to lose weight. This is the year I'm going to get really organized and organize my life and
All of us.
all of us. And then by the time before you even reach the end of the first quarter, you fall off the wagon
Yeah.
because you're just like, it just becomes too hard and you start losing joy in the process. But this course is actually really designed to help you tap deeper into what is actually driving your goals. So what is it that your soul or your essence is actually asking for? And being
Wow.
able to actually set that as a theme for the year, that regardless of what happens, whether you hit the surface level goal and achieve that or not, or life throws you unexpected curveballs, but in understanding what do I want to embody and
Yeah.
what do I want to experience and letting that be the focus and what
Wow.
weaves itself into the goals, that's what we're going to be focusing on. And I guess
Mm,
just helping
mm,
individuals to uncover what that actually is. So that's
mm.
going to be on the 10th of January. And yeah, if anyone is really interested in that, you can check out my LinkedIn page, and I'll send you the details for it.
Amazing. LinkedIn page in the comments. Go ahead and click on that. Thank you for your
Absolutely.
time. Have yourself a good day.
Thank you, Rapola. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.